The untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing games are missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, once again, we are live. I can't believe it's been 8 days since the last live, so it's good to be back. It didn't feel like 8 days, but I guess it was 8 days. The last time we were live was the aftermath of Anthony Joshua versus Dubois. But look, guys, it's a new month. We're officially in the fourth quarter of the year, so we got place to go, people to see, things to do, content to make, and I wanted to get this month started off on the right foot. So the topic of tonight's live is just really and truthfully it's all down to this whole Gervonta Davis, Lamont Roach situation. I kind of wanted to unpack it, give you guys my 2 cents, give you guys a large picture, give you guys maybe some things, some perspective, some insights that maybe you didn't even consider about Gervonta Davis versus Lamont Roach. So we'll get into all that. I do have a lot to say about this, and we'll definitely have a good time on True School Sports as we always do. So good to see you guys here. Shout out to my man Liam Rascal. He has the first comment of the live. He says Roach is moving up to 135 because he will get paid only slightly more to get knocked out by Davis than what he will get paid to get knocked out by Albert Batir Gaziev. Now, Albert Batir Gaziev, he is the interim champion of the WBA. For those of you who don't know, I don't. He's a good fighter. I did a prospect review video about him not so long ago. I think he just recently beat Jonah Carroll. To be honest with you, it's actually bullshit that Albert Batir Gaziev is the interim champion because the WBA mandatory has been Otar Aronosian since late 2023, and he never got a shot at the title. So that's a whole other topic for another day. But obviously it's a money fight. Obviously it's a fight that for Lamont Roach is going to do a lot for him. And later on in the live, I want to give you guys Lamont Roach perspective because I've been listening to a lot of people on YouTube talk about Lamont Roach, and then I don't think the Lamont Roach story of how he got to this point is being told properly. So we're gonna do that on this live as well. So yeah, for the 90 that are in here, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, give your comments, give your thoughts, super chat, all that good stuff. We got Jesus M in the building. He says, "Saludos, Jesus M. Good to see you as always." So that being said, let's get into the talking points because I do have some things to say about this fight, and we'll start off with Gervonta Davis because, to be honest with you, and I like Tank. I'm a Tank fan. I've been to what is I've been to Tank versus Ryan, Tank versus Frank Martin, Tank one Tank fight when he was a prospect against a can. I've been to some Tank fights, so I've enjoyed his career. Been to like 3 or 4 of his media workouts for Barrios, for Rolly, for a lot of these fights. So I feel like Gervonta Davis in covering his career is actually it's a good part of my journey here on True School Sports. But just being unbiased and just being honest about his career, Tank has fought some good fighters. Like he fought good fighters here and there. Like Pedraza was a very good win at the time. He was very young. Pedraza was a legitimate IBF champion. I thought Frank Martin was a good win his last fight. But there's been a pattern in his career. There's been a pattern in Gervonta Davis's career. For people that can be honest about his career of what it really is, the pattern is that he tends to take guys in lower weight classes, guys that fight in lighter weight classes, and he moves them up. It's been this way for many, many years, and it really behooves me, and it shocks me when his fan base gets shocked when people bring this up. I mean, hey, Hugo Ruiz, Jesus Cuellar, those are some of the early days of Tank, picking guys from small weight classes and then moving up. But then, you had Leo Santa Cruz in 2020, Hector Garcia in, was it 2020, was it 2023, early 2023. And now in 2024, you got Lamont Roach. So it really doesn't matter what part of Tank's career you pick. If you pick, the beginning days of his championship level performances in boxing, that's going to be him picking the smaller guys. The beginning, the middle, and the end of him at a high level boxing is marred with Gervonta Davis fighting guys from small weight classes. So this is business as usual. You guys got to understand something. PBC, they as Gervonta Davis goes, they go. If he loses, they ultimately lose. So they have to ensure that not only does he win, but he continues to look good so that he can maintain this aura of invincibility that he really is the best lightweight in the world. Now, call me old fashioned. I would like to see Gervonta Davis fight, the guys like Shakur Stevenson, the big names, so that he could actually fully prove himself against the top guys. But he's not doing that right now. And the thing is, you see, 6, 7, 8 years ago, they had the built-in excuse of that Tank is young and he can take his time. Well, he took his time, and time has went by, and Gervonta Davis is now pushing 30 years old, and he still hasn't been in a true legacy-defining fight. So, yes, when I say this is business as usual for Gervonta Davis, he's following the playbook that he's had his entire boxing career. And I'm not trying to down Lamont Roach. I like Lamont Roach. I like him a lot as a fighter. I think he's steadily improved. I think Lamont Roach is actually a success story in boxing. A lot of fighters can look at the Lamont Roach story and take a lot of positives from it. But when you look at the grand scheme of this fight, like, when is Gervonta Davis going to be in that big fight that we don't want to see him in? Because it's not all his fault. I don't want to put it all on him. It's partially his fault. But, like, Shakur Stevenson's with Matchroom Boxing for 2 fights, right? It's a whole thing. So I just don't know. I don't know when he's gonna really fight someone who's truly, like, on his level in his weight class. Without, like, I know he fought Ryan Garcia, and I was there. It was a great event, but, like, Ryan Garcia was compromised. It wasn't the Ryan Garcia that fought Devin, because the Ryan Garcia that fought Devin was bigger and stronger. He wasn't frail and skinny. So yeah, it's getting to that point now for me with Tank, where it's like, okay, not only am I questioning it, not only am I starting to question, will he ever be in a big fight, but my thing is, will we ever get a chance to see Gervonta Davis in his prime, at the peak of his powers, against one of the other, like, top guys of his era in his weight class? Like, will we, by the time Gervonta Davis versus Shakur Stevenson happens, if it does, will Gervonta Davis even still be in his prime? That's the question we got to start asking, because time is going by, and Gervonta Davis don't want to be in this boxing shit too long. So, and the thing is, the Shakur Stevenson hand injury, whether people want to realize it or not, it negatively affecting Gervonta Davis, because that's the fight people want to see him in. And Shakur Stevenson has a 2-fight deal at Matchroom Boxing, and more than likely he's going to fight those 2 fights at Matchroom Boxing without it being Tank. So maybe Williams Peta, and then they could do Joe Cordina or something like that. But you're looking at probably at the earliest. I'm talking about, if everything goes perfect, maybe Gervonta Davis and Tank fight in late 2025, and that's if everything goes perfectly. Boxing, a lot of variables, a lot of things at play here. But yeah, I'll open up this slide by simply saying this Lamont Roach fight is business as usual for Tank. He's following the same playbook. He's not doing the Peyton Manning calling audibles at the line of scrimmage. He's not saying Omaha, all that stuff. He's doing what he's always done. So I don't think anybody should really be that surprised about it. But let me go to the comments, man. Shout out to the comments. We got my man DG says Tank is the coochie of boxing. Tank will be out of his prime in 2 years or less. Exactly. So my thing is, you gotta strike while the iron's hot. You gotta go out there and you gotta fight while you're at the peak of your powers, because if you wait any longer, not only will we never get a chance to see Gervonta Davis in a big fight while he's still in his prime, but Gervonta will actually hurt himself. He will be a detriment to his own self if he continues to not fight top competition and just carefully move for the rankings and just fight these risk adverse opponents. It's really his career, and the management of it is really one of the most interesting things in boxing, because Gervonta Davis is one terrible night at the office, which every fighter is entitled to have. The great ones had him. Ali had him. Leonard had him. All the best fighters in history have had bad nights at the office. He's one really bad fight and a loss away from being called the biggest fraud in boxing history, because they continue to take these fights that nobody's asking for, that are not going to do anything for his legacy. So they'll do things for his market value. They'll do things for his bank account, which is fine. It's prize fighting. That Tank's always made it no secret that's the main thing, is the money. But this is still a sport, and we do got to maintain at least a little bit in boxing, just a tad bit of competitive integrity. So yeah, I know it's wishful thinking, but that's what it is. So yeah, man. As far as other things, right? And by the way, make sure you guys smash that like button before I get into my next talking point. For the 9 of you that are here, I just wanted to say this. Y'all can super chat if you want to. You guys know I appreciate all the super chats. But if you guys want to actually donate to the channel, the Cash App is there. Cash App $ just a kid from Dania. You get at me on there. Or if you don't got Cash App, PayPal. PayPal me at True School Sports 2012 at gmail.com. Either one is good. They all help the channel. They all help me get to these fights and just get around really. Because boxing is a global sport, and I do a lot of traveling, and I just moved to Vegas, so I'm still just trying to get everything right here in Vegas. So yeah, YouTube sometimes takes a percent. Not sometimes, they do take a percentage of every super chat. So super chats are good, but that's probably a better way to support the channel if you want to. So yeah, Cash App, just get from Dania. PayPal, True School Sports 2012 at gmail.com. Anything we appreciated. We're not begging here, just letting you guys know that there's other ways to support the channel besides, super chat. But as far as Gervonta Davis, getting back to the matter at hand, right? Really and truthfully, I want to be more upset than I am about this whole situation, but I can't. And the reason I can't is because none of the big names that, I don't want to see him in the ring against, like Shakur Stevenson or Teofimo Lopez or Devin Haney, none of those guys are available. None of those guys are available because, look, Teofimo Lopez recently, he was offered a fight on Top Rank, a Friday night main event slot. He turned it down. And the reason he turned it down was because it was on a Friday, not a Saturday. He feels he should be fighting on Saturday. So that's a whole issue he has to work out with Top Rank. So he's got his own problems going on, right? Shakur Stevenson broke his hand in sparring. He's not fighting until February. When he does fight, he's fighting Williams Pena. And then after that, he has another fight left on his Matchroom deal. And then maybe by the end of 2025, maybe he goes to Top Rank, or not Top Rank. Maybe he goes to PBC and signs a deal with them. And maybe by like December of 2025, we get Tank versus Shakur Stevenson. But that's not happening anytime soon, right? And then Devin Haney's in a lawsuit with Ryan Garcia. So he's got bigger problems than just the ring. He got bigger fights to win than just the ring. He's in a lawsuit. He's going to court. So he's tied up with that. So none of the big names are available to fight Tank. There's other options at 35 that wouldn't have been as glamorous name-wise, but they would have sufficed. They would have sufficed. Lomachenko, him was supposed to fight. Lomachenko doesn't really have any interest in boxing anymore. And truthfully, like that fight, let's just be honest. I know the Tank fanboys are gonna say Lomachenko ducked Tank, and I guess so, but it's still a far cry from what Tank was doing years ago, blatantly avoiding Lomachenko for not one, not two, not three, not four, but like they had 4 years in a row saying the same things, that they were gonna age him out. So, you reap as you sow. It was meant to be, and I'm not gonna really harp on that one too much. I'm not no big Lomachenko fan, but like Gervonta Davis did drag his feet and never make that fight happen. So I'm not really tripping about that. So there's not a whole lot of big names for him to fight at 35. That's just the reality of the situation. The guy I would have liked to see get the fight would have been a guy like Edwin De Los Santos. I feel like Edwin De Los Santos would have been the perfect opponent for Tank because Edwin De Los Santos, first and foremost, he's a Shakur Stevenson opponent. He fought Shakur. They had a really boring fight, but Edwin De Los Santos doesn't have a reputation for being a boring fighter. He knocked out Raul Valenzuela. He's always flashed big-time knockout punching power. And the good thing about that fight is, like, unlike this fight with Lamont Roach, at least if Edwin De Los Santos was fighting Tank instead of Lamont Roach, at least there'd be that thought of like, okay, Edwin De Los Santos can at least, in an exchange, present a threat to Tank, hit him and hurt him, I would even venture to say, let me think about it, but I would even venture to say if De Los Santos fought Tank, I would say De Los Santos, to this point in his career will be the biggest puncher he had faced. Because I can't really think of too many guys. He fought Ryan Garcia, but, let's be real. Ryan Garcia was a bit compromised at the weight, so he didn't have all his strength. He wasn't going to be the Ryan Garcia that fought, Luke Campbell or even Devin Haney, So, yeah, he would have been a much better opponent. He's actually a 35-pounder. He's not a 130-pounder coming up in weight. And look, if Tank would have knocked him out, he could have compared his performance with Shakur. And then he would have had that feather in his cap, and that would have even given him more confidence going into a Shakur Stevenson fight. But he's fighting Lamont Roach. Why? Because that's just part of the that's part of the playbook. That's part of the playbook. That's part of what he's always done in his career. Fight the guys that are smaller in smaller weight classes that we know can't beat him. Where he's going to be like at least a minimum of a 7-1 favorite, and then he'll get a big knockout. And Leonard Ellaby will push Tank propaganda and say nobody will beat Tank, and that's how it's going to go. But personally, I would have liked to see the Edwin De Los Santos fight. I think that fight would have made a lot of sense for Tank. So yeah, that's what I think. But shout out to my guy. Let me see. DG says this generation of American fighters is trash. Yeah, it's not the most flattering thus far, but there's still a lot of talent in America. There's always talent in America. I won't say it's trash because America's a big country, so you're painting a broad brush. You're saying a lot of fighters. You're saying the Mexican Americans are trash too, and there's a lot of good Mexican American fighters like Bam and Dave Benavidez and Angelo Leo, guys that are holding it down. So it's not just America's always going to have this talent in football and boxing. But yes, America has seen brighter days. My man Chris says he went to Michaela Mayer. Okay, it was a good fight. I enjoyed the fight. It was a hell of a fight. Shout out to Mayer and Sandy Ryan. I'm glad you had a good time. At least he's fighting a champion. Yeah, but listen, let's be real. He's fighting a champion that, like, I don't want to put down Lamont Roach because I have a lot of respect for him and his career and how he's moved and what he's had to overcome. And I don't even think a lot of people really know what Lamont Roach has had to overcome in his career. I'm gonna get to that here in a second, but like Lamont Roach is a fighter that lost to Jamel Herring years ago, and I'm not trying to condemn him for his loss, but like we know Jamel Herring was a B-level fighter. Lamont Roach got outboxed by Jamel Herring. Now to his credit, he came back, he became champion, he beat Hector Garcia as an underdog, but like he is fighting a champion, but it's not a champion in his weight class, and it's just part of the Tank playbook. Like he's doing the same thing he did with Hector Garcia in this case. Hector Garcia beat Chris Colbert, he became champion. Now he's fighting the guy that beat Hector Garcia, so he's doing the same shit. He's doing the same thing to Hector Garcia again. It's not anything different. Nothing's new under the sun. Nah, he's not scared of Tank. Like anybody who's really paid attention to Lomachenko knows that Lomachenko has been saying since pretty much after the Devin Haney fight, he was done with boxing because he felt he got robbed in that fight. And I'm not no Lomachenko fan or fanboy. I've actually been accused of being a Lomachenko hater, so like I'm just being honest here. After the Devin Haney fight, he was pretty much done with boxing, and he pretty much said he just wanted to win this Kambosos fight, and that'd be it. So I don't want to hear about it, man. All these people saying that Lomachenko was scared of Tank. He fought Tio, he fought Devin, he fought Gary Russell Jr., he's fought Solito, he's fought, like, look at his resume, look at the guys he's fought. How can you say this guy's scared? He's many things. I think, he's skillful, he's agile, he's experienced, he's at times, depending on who you talk to, a bit overrated, but he's definitely not scared of Tank. I don't think that. Shout out to my boy Gregory. Say, what to do? Shakur Marriott, UK in the building. Good to see you, champ. Let me see. Let me get to a couple comments, and then I want to really press in on Lamont Roach because I don't like really appreciate people talking bad about Lamont Roach because really he's a bystander in all this. He's just taking it. He's taking a fight that any fighter would take in this position. So I can't get mad at him. He's had to overcome a lot in his career, and I think Lamont Roach, his story is a good story in boxing, and it needs to be told properly. So I'll get to that here in a second. But yeah, shout out to Shakur. My man Inquisitive M says, I agree with you, True. It's the same old script of tanking them. De Los Santos will be better. Yeah, it's the same thing. Nothing new under the sun. The only reason why I'm not going to shit on the fight more is because, I think Lamont Roach is a good fighter, and I think he's improved over the years. I think he's a high character guy. I think unlike a lot of these guys in boxing, like look at Jermell Charlo against Canelo. He didn't come to fight and beat Canelo. He survived. Edgar Berlanga, I was just there. Edgar Berlanga, he talked a good game. When push came to shove, he came to survive. So the reason why I'm not shitting on the fight is because, number one, Lamont Roach can fight, and he is a good fighter, and he's a world champion. And I do think Lamont Roach is going to actually come to fight. I don't think he's going to be like Jermell, and I don't think he's going to be like Edgar Berlanga. So that's why I'm not really shitting on it. And really, the big names are all either on some bullshit or just they have problems. They all have problems, or they all have things they're dealing with right now. So they're not available. So it just is what it is. You gotta accept it. You gotta accept it for what it is. let me see you. Shout out to my man Alex Fisson-Reese. Fun fact: both of Roach's first two KOs were at 135 or higher, overmatch opposition. But it does say something. It won't be easy for Gervonta Davis. And yes, these guys do have history. They fought in the amateurs in 2011. Tank actually beat Lamont Roach by decision in the amateurs when they had fought. Because I actually had a chance to watch a bit of their amateur fight, and I mean you can't take too much from the amateurs because it's a whole different sport. It's more about scoring points. Tank is literally a kid, and Lamont was the more filled out person. But like the little bit I watched of their amateur fight, Lamont Roach was able to catch Tank in between the shots at times. But as the fight wore on, Tank's feet, his athleticism, his timing, these things all really begin to shine as the fight progressed. So I know that was when they were kids, and both these guys have matured into men and learned a whole boatload more about boxing since then. But some things don't change from amateurs to pros. And I do think like Tank is going to be the better athlete, the guy with the better timing, and the guy with the better IQ. Like Lamont Roach is going to go in there and give it his best. I think he's going to come to fight. I think he's going to come to win. But really, when you evaluate every part of like the skills, he's outgunned in every department. So, it's going to come down to, can he just outwill Gervonta Davis and maybe catch him with a good shot or outwork him or something like that? Because I don't see many paths to victory for Lamont Roach in this fight. But I want to pivot into Lamont Roach because I feel like Lamont Roach does deserve people's respect. I think his story in boxing needs to be told a lot more efficiently, because I've listened to content all day today from people on, respect to all the other channels. But like, I just don't feel like people are really painting the picture of what Lamont Roach did to get to this point, because what he did to get to this point is very respectable. I mean, when we look at Lamont Roach early in his career, this is a guy that was national Golden Gloves champion, so he had performed at a very high level as an amateur. Um, he was the 2013 national Golden Gloves champion, right? So they don't just hand those out. You got to actually be good to win those. You can't pick you can't pick and choose who you want to fight in the amateurs. You got to actually fight, multiple times a week, multiple times a day sometimes, and he did that. So he came into the pros. There you go. He came into the pros with high hopes, with expectations, and I think he walked into a really bad situation early in his career. Like Lamont Roach signed with Golden Boy Promotions when he turned pro in like 2013, 2014. And if anybody remembers 2013, 2014, Golden Boy Promotions, they're very much a company that was in disarray. A lot of Oscar's talent was getting stolen. A lot of those guys were in the process of going to PBC. So guys like Deontay Wilder, Danny Garcia, a lot of those fighters that were PBC stars, they were originally Golden Boy fighters. And Lamont Roach had just entered boxing when all this was beginning to happen. So he got caught in the middle of that, and he didn't go to he wasn't really sought after by PBC to go with them. And he was on Golden Boy, so he had to basically be a Golden Boy fighter while Golden Boy was rebuilding, and he was an East Coast fighter fighting for a West Coast promotion company. And it was just a really, really not the best situation for him. So what this did to Lamont Roach early in his career is it hurt what's called his market value. Market value is something that every fighter has. Gervonta Davis has market value. Journeyman have market value. My boy Angel Leo, he has market value. Every fighter in boxing has a market value, and depending upon what you do in the ring and out the ring, these things determine your market value. So things that will determine your market value outside the ring is like, are you with the right promoter? Or are you with the promoter that will bring fights to the area where your core fan base is, where you can properly build as a fighter? And a lot of fighters sound with the wrong promoters. Like in this case, Lamont Roach signed with the wrong promoter coming out the gate. So this hurt his market value. Golden Boy Promotions is primarily a Mexican and Mexican-American company that does fights on the West Coast. Lamont Roach is a Black American fighter from the DMV area. So obviously he wasn't getting those fights in the DMV area, and he didn't have any market value to speak of early in his career. And so, it's a lot of years just being on Golden Boy, not getting the fights he wanted, right? And then, as time progressed, he had lost to Jamil Herring, challenging for the world title. I think it was like in 2019. Had to rebuild, had to fight the guys like Rene Alvarado and things like that. And then eventually, he gets a shot against Hector Garcia and he beats Hector Garcia and he becomes champion. But the reason why I respect Lamont Roach so much is because when the Golden Boy contract expired, him and his dad, Lamont Roach Sr., they got their own promoter's license. They started their own promotional company, and that promotional company was called No Excuse Promotions, right? And he's not like like how these guys like Earl Spence and these other like fighters in boxing, they have their promoter's license, but they're really just tax write-offs, and they're just you know they're not really their own promoter. They're still under the PBC umbrella. Like those guys aren't really promotional free agents like they say they are. Lamont Roach is truly a promotional free agent, and he has been one since the Golden Boy promotions contract ran out. So when promoters talk to him, they gotta talk directly to him and his father. And like, funny enough, when he was going through the process of getting the Hector Garcia fight, that fight actually went to purse bid, and Lamont Roach and his dad, No Excuse Promotions, their company, they put in a bid for the purse bid. They put in a $351,000 purse bid for the Hector Garcia fight. Now, did they win the purse bid? No, they didn't. But what it did was it forced the other promoters that bid on the fight to actually pay more money for the fight if they wanted the rights to the fight. So the winning bid wasn't the bid for $351,000. It actually wound up being TGB's offer, which was $410,000. So they put their money where their mouth is. They intentionally drove the value up of their own fight. All right. And then he was the underdog in that fight, and he came and he upset Hector Garcia. So he talks the talk and he walks the walk, and he's a real stand-up guy. And that's why I have a lot of respect for Lamont Roach and how he goes about his business. His last fight, when he fought Farragut McCroy, right? That was a fight that he put in the DMV area. It was a fight that he did a co-promotion, No Excuse Promotions, his company, in association with ProBox. So ProBox saw enough value in Lamont Roach, and Lamont Roach saw enough value in himself to put the fight on in his own hometown in the DMV area against Farragut McCroy, put on a good fight, and I'm sure was able to keep more of the money for himself. And that's the story of Lamont Roach. The story of Lamont Roach is the story of a fighter who was a well-accomplished amateur who made a bad decision business-wise that affected the very early and middle parts of his career. And he's now rectified that decision. He's betted on himself every single time, and it's paid off. And now he's champion, and now he's getting one of, if not the biggest paydays and biggest fights you can get in any weight class in boxing, and that's the Gervonta Davis fight. So that's the Lamont Roach story. He can fight his ass off, and I think he will come to win, and he deserves your respect. So I wanted to say that about him. While I'm sitting here and I'm talking negative about the fight, it has nothing to do with Lamont Roach. I think it's a better fight than fights Tank has made in the past, but it's more so to do with Tank. It's more so to do with what Tank is sold and propped up as a pound for pound elite creme de la creme top shelf guy. And the thing is, like, I was getting into it today on Twitter with what's the girl's name? Christine, the USA amateur coach. She has a channel here on YouTube, In the Ring with Christine, and she did a little video on Twitter, and she was talking about saying like, "Oh, I don't understand why people are hating on this fight. I think it's a great fight. They're both good fighters. This, that, and the third." And I told her, I said, "Look, the problem with this fight has nothing to do with Lamont Roach. The problem with this fight is that Tank is getting sold to the public as one of the top skillful fighters in the world, and he's looked the part thus far in his career. Everyone they put in front of him, he's beat them in sensational fashion. But he's now pushing 30, and people want to see him with big names. And judging by past history and judging by this opponent selection, it just looks like there's no real intention of ever fighting in a true legacy-defining fight. So I think boxing fans, I think the general public, they see the ability of Tank, they see the punching power, they see the IQ. They just want Tank, like any other fighter in boxing, to be and live up to what he's sold as, and that's one of the best fighters in boxing. And you can't be one of the best fighters in boxing without fighting some of the best fighters in boxing. So that's really where it all comes from. But anyway, that's my rant on Lamont Roach. That's my rant on Tank for a second. Before I get into to one of my last talking points, and then we'll get into some other boxing stuff. Let me go ahead and run through some more comments. Shout out to everybody here. It's your boy BT, the Untouchable. True School Sports Empire. We here. We're here. We're here. We're making it do what it do. Getting this month started out properly. Giving you guys some world class boxing talk. Chris B says it's crazy how much we've witnessed in boxing before seeing Tank fight a legitimate contender. He's fought legitimate contenders. I don't want to shit on Tank that much because that's disingenuous. Like Frank Martin was a legitimate contender. But there hasn't really been a ton. I mean, Barrios was a guy that was a lesser champion. The guy at the time was Josh Taylor when he fought him, and he was weight drained. Rolly sucks in most people's eyes. That's just the truth. So yeah, I mean, he's fought some contenders here. The Isak Cruz was legit as well, but other than maybe 2 or 3 guys, it's been very careful management. BT, why aren't you saying more about why the fight is happening? Tank versus Loma is more likely than not is happening next year. Roach is there to give Tank work. That's it. Lomachenko versus Tank, maybe it happens next year, but I really don't give half a rat's ass about that fight. That fight is meaningless. That fight doesn't prove anything. I mean, yeah, that's Tank fighting a big name, but that's Tank fighting a guy who's mentally checked out, and that's Tank fighting a guy that he blatantly ducked for 4 or 5 years. I don't care about that fight. That fight to me is nonsense, and truthfully, I hope that Lomachenko doesn't give Tank that fight. Why? Why should Lomachenko give Tank the fight? He spent all of 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019 saying that he didn't need to rush to fight Lomachenko. So why does Lomachenko got to rush to fight Tank? It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. So I'll leave it at that. The PBC doesn't have the budget to pay for elite opposition for Tank. That's not true. Maybe the company itself doesn't have the budget, but Al Heyman's a smart guy. Al Heyman's a smart, very shrewd businessman, and he knows a lot of powerful people. He can if PBC itself doesn't have the money, they can find a way to get the money. That's how tapped in Al Heyman is. My only knock on Roach is that he lost to a guy like Herring, who would never be a world champion in today's boxing landscape. What are you talking about? Jamal Herring was a champion 5 years ago in today's boxing landscape. What do you? Roma Gonzalez fought Diamel Dioku, who got a title after that win. You're naming one fight for Roma Gonzalez that he had, which was like not that far after he got knocked out against Rungvisai. That was just a little get back fight. Tank is in the middle of his career, and he's not fighting the guys people want to see him fight. Nor, in his defense, right? In Tank's defense, I don't think it's all his fault. Shakur Stevenson, I don't think is in the rush to fight Tank either. I think it's both of them. I think Shakur in the rush to fight Tank and Tank in the rush to fight Shakur, because anyone with half a brain knows it wasn't the wisest thing in the world for Shakur to go sign with Matchroom if he wants to get a Tank fight. That don't make no sense. Liam Paro, Teofimo Lopez, Lomachenko, Alberto Puello, Dennis Berger, Jose Valenzuela are all champions and none have a fight schedule. Pay them right, and they'll accept the fight. I agree with that. I think Lomachenko, though, I actually think Lomachenko does. I really think Lomachenko doesn't care for boxing anymore. I think he was saying it after the Haney fight. He was saying it before the Kambosos fight. People choose to ignore that, but I think Liam Paro would fight him. Liam Paro from Matias in Puerto Rico. Tia would fight him, but that's a top-ranked PBC thing, so that's always tricky. Puello is an in-house guy, so that's probably a guy right there. Puello or Horayo. I don't understand why PBC couldn't get one of those guys in. Make the money. If this is the guy that the company's built upon, okay, put him in the ring with decent opponents, that are actually in his weight class, not Lamont Roach, who's going to be outgunned in every department. Did I see the interview with TFP on the Is What It Is? I saw clips of the interview. I don't have no deep opinion about it. I saw the clip where he talked about Shakur Stevenson basically wanting to jump off of a hotel when he lost a fight in Vegas to Ruben Villa. But I don't have no deep opinion on it, to be honest with you. Yeah, T.O.'s in litigation with Top Rank. I know. he's in litigation with Top Rank because he just had a fight offered to him to fight on a Friday, and he turned it down because it wasn't on a Saturday. I mean, come on. Y'all hype up B fighters for Tank and treat them like they are A-type fighters. Especially buying these week. I don't do that. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, he's taking the least amount of risk for the most reward. You know, that's the Floyd playbook. But see, at least with Floyd, early in his career, Floyd was a top ranked fighter. So Floyd had to, fight Diego Corrales. He had to fight certain guys. He's doing the Floyd shit right out the damn gate, like right after getting the first title, which is a whole different ball game than what Floyd was doing. Alec Powell was good, champ. Just here talking about trying to make sense of all this. Lamont Roach versus Tank. I'm happy for Lamont Roach. Good for him. He overcame a lot in his career to get to this point, and he deserves the payday. And I hope he goes in there, gives a good fight, and drives his market value up. But it's not my issue. Not with Lamont Roach. My issue is with just when the hell is Tank gonna actually be in a fight, like an actual, real, legitimate fight? Frank Martin was a decent fight. I liked the fight. I think it was one of the better matches that could have been made at the time at lightweight, but it's still not the fight that is going to move the needle. Harold says, hey, you wouldn't have a problem if Tank fought Yoshino in Japan. Yes, I would. Yoshino got stopped by Shakur fucking Stevenson. You're damn right I would have a problem with Tank if he fought Yoshino. Last comment. What was your last comment? Is Tank ducking Shakur the way Earl was doing with Terence Crawford? No, I don't think so. I think first of all, if Shakur Stevenson really wanted the Tank fight as much as he claims he does, then the move wouldn't be signing with Eddie Hearn. Let's be honest. Let's keep it 100%. Let's keep it 100, man, because we're in the fourth quarter of 2024. It's 11:10 p.m. Pacific time. All right, and we gotta be honest here. Eddie Hearn has had hell of Black American fighters: Demetrius Andre, Devin Haney, Jaron Ennis. All right, all these guys. He ain't really moving the needle for them. He ain't getting them no big fights. I'm not trying to make it a race thing, but that's just the truth. When you're a promoter from another country and you come to America and you're looking to get top American talent, much of the top American talent is going to be Black fighters. And the guys he's had so far, he has not delivered. Demetrius Andre, he couldn't deliver Canelo. He couldn't deliver Charlo. He delivered Billy Joe Saunders, so that wasn't his fault. Billy Joe was on some weird shit, and then they were never able to get it going again. But he didn't deliver for Andre. He hasn't delivered for Boots thus far. Boots has to fight Karen Chukwujan in a meaningless rematch, right? And then yeah, so if you were really trying to get a Tank fight, the best way to ensure that you could get that fight would have been you left Top Rank. You said Top Rank don't know how to promote fighters. This, that, and the third. The move would have been to go to PBC, all right, and that would increase your chances. But no, you went to the guy that doesn't really have the best understanding of the American market. Doesn't have a track record for delivering for American fighters in big fights. And you did it because Turkey Al-Sheikh is going to overpay you for fights that nobody cares about, like Joe Cordina. You took the money. As much as I want to sit here and blame Tank and get mad at Tank, and I will do that because I feel like Tank is in more of the power position, but Shakur Stevenson, he's not making really sound decisions either to try to get that fight. So he has to now probably be in two fights, fight like a Williams Pera. And then if he can beat Williams Pera, he probably fights Joe Cordina after that, because they'll make this fight up. So that's going to be his matchroom tenure. And then after that, God willing, that'll be over in the middle of 2025. Then maybe towards the end of 2025, we can get Tank versus Shakur Stevenson. But until then, we're not going to get any of that. Andre is trash. He didn't deliver for himself. Nah. We're not doing that here. I'm not as big of an Andre fan as I used to be, but I'm still a fan of him. And look, 2-division champion, world amateur champion, USA Olympian. That's a very good fighter. All right. And as much as people may not like it, Canelo Alvarez was not in a rush to fight him. Canelo Alvarez did avoid Demetrius Andrade for many, many, many years. I don't care that he got his ass beat by Dave Benavidez at 168. That was 168. Andrade had already lost motivation for boxing. He checked out of boxing about a year and a half, 2 years before he even fought Benavidez. All right. When the Johnny Beck shit started, that's pretty much for Andrade. Andrade was done. He delivered more than enough, and I don't want to turn this into a 2021 or 2022 live on True School Sports, but yeah, like he did more than fine for himself. I don't know anything about that, and even if I did, it doesn't mean anything. All promoters do this. They do. All promoters do exactly the same thing. Um, that some are worse than others, but they all do the same thing. Some promoters are smarter than others, but it's business. Do you think Lemos can knock Keyshawn Davis out? I do think Lemos can knock Keyshawn Davis out. I don't think it's gonna happen, but I think he can for sure. They'd find the money for Canelo, but not for Tank. Just look at how they are trying to jam the card for December 14th. Yeah, I mean, what do you mean by the last part? Like by jamming the card? Like, first of all, Canelo Alvarez has the Mexican fan base in the Cobra Clutch, so it's different. It's different. To the Latin market in the Cobra Clutch. He's the biggest money making attraction in North America. There's no doubt about it. But I don't know if I agree with your statement though, because you said they find the money for Canelo. If that was the case, why won't they find the money for Canelo to fight Dave Benavidez? Because here we are. I'm sure if they had the right amount of money for Canelo to fight Dave Benavidez, it would happen. But it's not. So they're not finding the money for Canelo. That's why Canelo's fighting Edgar Berlanga and Jaime Munguia. Am I going to stream the Seiya Susumu Takuma fight? Yeah, I'll be live for that. I'll be live. So that fight's the 13th or the 14th. It's part of that 2 days of Japan. I'll be live the 12th. I'll be live the 13th, and I'll be live the 14th. So the 12th, I'll be live for Better Be at Bivol. The 13th for the first Japan card, and the 14th for the second Japan card. So three days, 3 days of lives in a row. Live fight. I'm gonna be very tired. Hyro's been joking with me saying that BT after those 3 days, we're not gonna see the rest of the month, but that's not true. So yeah. Let me see. Did I have any more speaking points? Oh yeah, I wanted to make this last speaking point about Lamont Roach and Tank Davis, and then y'all can ask me whatever you want. This fight, right? Like, I feel like they need to do like I know PBC and Al Heyman are not gonna do this fight in the proper way, because there's a proper way to do this fight. This is not a pay-per-view fight, right? Like many fights that are put on pay-per-views, this is not a pay-per-view fight. So I think PBC has been talking about doing more free shows on Amazon, like non-pay-per-view shows on Amazon. This needs to be one of them. You need to put Tank versus Lamont Roach on free Amazon. I know they won't, because Tank Davis is a pay-per-view fighter, and they're trying to squeeze every last dollar out of him because he's one of the biggest earners. So that's not going to happen. But that's what they should do. And on top of that, this fight needs to be in the DMV. This fight needs to be in either DC or Baltimore, preferably at the Capital One Arena. So that way this fight could get the atmosphere that it deserves. This fight can get the fanfare it deserves. This fight can be fought on the proper stage. I've heard the fight's going to be in Houston, Texas, which, like, again, this fight is an East Coast fight. Like, Lamont Roach versus Gervonta Davis is an East Coast fight. It's not a West Coast fight. Nobody on the West Coast knows Lamont Roach. Very like to be honest with you guys, Lamont Roach is one of the least known champions in boxing because he's not a guy that talks a lot. He's not no big knockout puncher like that. He just became champion, so it's like he's still trying to build his profile. So he's not a fighter that I think you should take to somewhere like Texas. Granted, it is Tank, and Tank's going to sell, but if this fight if this event, not the fight, the fight is going to be what it's going to be. Tank's going to stop Lamont Roach, probably in 7 rounds or less. Lamont Roach will come to win. He'll be in the pocket. It'll be entertaining for as long as it lasts. I'm not talking about the fight. I'm talking about the event. For this event to be all it can be, You got to go put that in the DMV. Go like you put Hector Garcia versus Tank in the DMV. Why can't this be in the DMV? Why can't this be at the Capital One Arena like Hector Garcia was? You know. So if you're gonna do this fight, don't do it half-assed. People are already pissed off that it's a cherry picking fight. Like you're picking a guy from 130 and bringing him up who's not a big puncher in his weight class. If you're gonna do one of these type of fights, do them properly and put it in the place where people will care about it the most, where the atmosphere will be the best, and give back to the fans of the DMV. That's how it should be done. You know, I've heard they're gonna do it in Houston because apparently they're gonna put the Charlo brothers on the undercard. And I want to tell you guys like this, man. I'm gonna give you all the raw, uncut truth. Right now, at this moment in time, nobody gives a flying fuck about either one of the Charlos because Jamal hasn't been relevant for like 3 years, and Jamel literally like did not try to win against Canelo. And even when the Charlos were fighting and they had a momentum, I'll tell you guys a story. When I went to Houston, the one time I ever went to Houston in 2021, I went to Houston because, you know, Angelo Leo fought on the undercard. It was his last fight on PBC. It was his last fight with Miller Promotions and on Showtime. Angelo Leo fought Aaron Alameda on that card. So I went to that fight at the Toyota Center. And I was surprised that like by the time Jamal got out there to fight, that the arena wasn't more full. And they fought on Juneteenth and everything, and it was a big thing. So back then, they weren't really like moving the needle like that. So imagine now, you shouldn't be putting fights in a particular area because certain guys on the undercard who barely ever fight that nobody really cares about right now are on the undercard. Who gives a damn? Like put the shit in the DMV, do right by Tank, do right by Lamont Roach, and do right by your damn self. Have some self-respect, PBC. Do this shit the proper way. And I'll leave it at that. So yeah, I've said what I needed to say about Lamont Roach versus Tank. I'll go ahead and just read y'all's comments and answer questions now. Make sure y'all smash that like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. Super chat. If you want to support the channel, super chat. If you want to do more than super chat, you know, you can hit me on the Cash App at Just a Kid from Dania, the money sign Just a Kid from Dania, or the PayPal at TrueSchoolSports2012 at gmail.com. So anything, I appreciate anything. But let me see. My main man, Hand History Vault says, what are my thoughts on the November 16th card out there in Saudi? I've said it many times, and I'll say it again. That is the best card Turkey has put on so far, top to bottom. There's not one bad fight on that card. Because a lot of these Turkey cards, they may have like one big name, and people start dick riding and saying it's this great card when it's not. But there's actually legitimately like good fights, like really good fights on that card. You know, Chris Smith versus Zorro Ramirez is one of the best fights remaining on the schedule this year. It's a true legacy fight in the cruiserweight division. You know, UK versus Mexico at cruiserweight, which we never had before, so that's pretty cool. You got that fight. You had Kendall Sims Jr. in a good fight with Oscar Duarte, trying to, you know, get back, solidify his spot as one of the top contenders at 140. That's gonna be a good fight. You know, a boxer versus puncher matchup. What other fights are there? I know there's more than that. You got Oscar Collazo in a unification fight against knockout CP Freshmart, so that's a big fight for 105. Williams Pereira's on the card with Tevin Farmer, you know, trying to solidify his place as a top contender. So, and they even threw in a fight, you know, I don't really care about, but a good little fight, Jose Ramirez versus Arnold Barbosa Jr. So to me, there's not like on that card, apart from the main event, and maybe the Oscar Collazo fight, there's not like any like home run fights, but every fight on that card is a triple. You know, every fight on that card has value and is good and has significance. So, you know, I think to me it's the most well-rounded card Turkey's put together. And to answer your question, Rocky, as far as Chris Billingsley versus Zorro Ramirez, that's a very interesting fight because, you know, Zorro he's boxing differently at cruiserweight. You know, he's with Malik Scott and he's on his toes more, and he boxed really well against Joe Smith Jr. I don't know if he can win a fight boxing on his toes against Chris Smith because Chris Smith is very much a guy that has good timing and likes to be right there in the pocket and mow down his opponents. I mean, look at all these guys that he's beat up, like Lawrence Okoli and Isaac Chamberlain and Arnold Jojai and Ty McCarthy. Like he's not an athletic fighter, Chris Smith, but he knows how to break guys down. So if I had to pick, it's hard. It's really hard because I don't know how much Zorro has left in the tank, but I would lean slightly towards Chris Smith, but I haven't really like got into my film study. So once I get into that, that's subject to change. But yeah, it's a good, really good fight. Alex says the free eventually the Charlo twins, they by themselves, no tank involved. I agree. Like they shouldn't be just gifted the right to fight on pay-per-view. Like I'm a very big believer in like you get what you earn in life, and like in boxing should be no different. You shouldn't be able to sit on the shelf for all these years like Jamal has, and he's had problems outside the ring, so God bless him. But like, nah, they need to build them back up, and put this fight in the DMV. No, that's a good fight. Like 105 is a division that you normally don't get unification fights at 105 because, I mean, to get unification fights in those weight classes, I mean, the sanctioning fees would just eat all these guys' purses up. So you need to have a promoter that would have money to burn on those fights, and Turkey obviously qualifies as that. So good for them. Good for Oscar Collazo. Good for knockout CP Freshmart. Um, I would like to see the 105 division unify and have an undisputed champion. That'd be good. I feel like that would draw more attention to the weight class, and then whoever comes out of that bunch as the guy now has more fanfare, now has more value. Oscar Collazo or Melvin Jerusalem, they have more value. So for sure. What are your predictions for the 12th? I hope Bivol gets it done, but I like both fighters. My prediction for the 12th is the same prediction I've had that I'm gonna have for every Artur Beterbiev fight until he retires, because I've made it very clear that I think Artur Beterbiev is gonna retire undefeated. I don't think there's a lot of boxing left for Artur Beterbiev. I think there's a possibility this might be his last fight. He might just F around and fight Bivol, and if he wins, go out on top. That's what I think he should do. I think it'll be a good fight. Funny enough, I spent last night at Sean Tatel's house, and we were breaking down tape on the fight, and we're gonna be doing a podcast soon before the fight, so stay tuned for that. I don't know if it'll be here on my channel or his channel, how we're gonna do it, but there will be a podcast with me and Sean talking about Beterbiev Bivol in depth and all this other stuff in boxing. So stay tuned for that. But I think Beterbiev is gonna stop Bivol in the later rounds. I think it'll look very similar to the Alexander Gvozdyk fight, where you get a very educated fighter. Kind of that Eastern European style. Bivol has a Soviet style, but like Gvozdyk has similarities to that style. And Gvozdyk had success boxing from the outside, but Beterbiev, thing about Beterbiev is I think not only is he the harder puncher, and not only is he a very good technical fighter, I actually think he has very deceptive hand speed, because if you put the tape on, you watch his fights, when he puts them together, it's very dynamic, and it's very like you're watching him throw these punches, and they don't look fast, but you look up and it's 5, 6, 7 punches that just gotten thrown, and the other guy hasn't thrown anything back. So he's got a way about him making these guys put their hands in their pocket. I think Bivol has to box the perfect fight to beat him, because I don't think I think Beterbiev could win. I think he could win a decision against Bivol. I think he could break Bivol down, maybe get a knockdown, and then Bivol goes into survival mode and just outwork him, and maybe the heavy hands are too much, and he can win a decision, and he can stop him. I can't see the only outcome that would shock me this fight would be Bivol knocking Beterbiev out, because Bivol, like, he's not pillow fisted, but he's not a guy that fights outside of himself. He has his game plan. He knows how to stay within himself, and he will, if the opportunity presents itself, he will throw 5, 6 punches. So I think Beterbiev's defense does need to be tight, but he's just not a guy that throws caution to the wind and goes for the stoppages. He doesn't go in there and he's not one of those guys that goes in there and takes it. He stays within himself. So I would venture to say a 10th round stoppage by Artur Beterbiev in a really good fight, a competitive fight, a fight where maybe he's even down on the cards. But I think in the end he Bivol becomes number 21. Beterbiev is getting the KO. Bivol is overrated. No, we're not gonna do that, man. We're not gonna do that. I'm not gonna put the like. There are fights in boxing where I may say like a guy's overrated, but I'm not gonna do that with this fight. Like, to me, I spend so much time in boxing covering fights that I really and truly don't care about, that aren't worth the time, but I do because it's boxing, and this is the home of boxing. This is one of these fights where, like, both these guys are every bit as good as advertised. Like, This is a true 50-50 fight. I feel like no matter who you pick in this fight, you should not feel comfortable picking the guy you're picking. Like if you're picking Bivol, you got to feel a little bit uneasy about a guy that has a 100% knockout ratio with the boxing pedigree of Arts Beterbiev. And if you're picking Beterbiev like I am, I know Bivol he's not just a good boxer. He's not just some sort of technician. No. He's in rarefied air. Let's give this man his due. He is in rarefied air. He has he has gotten to a place in his application of the sweet science of boxing where you call this man a master of boxing. There's many good boxers, many technicians. This guy's a master of boxing. So I'm not gonna do that. Both these guys are great. What did you say about your course about George Foreman? Shakur? You mentioned something about George Foreman. Let me see. George Foreman. BT, how good was prime George Foreman? How good would he have done against today's heavyweights and the 90s heavyweights in his prime? Well, it's funny because, George Foreman had two careers. And, like George Foreman, like 70s George Foreman, the George Foreman fought Ali and Frazier and them guys, he was kind of like a better BF, just a destructive force. A guy with a, I would actually say, what's funny? I would actually say that that's who Better BF kind of reminds me of. That's probably why I like him so much, because I'm a big George Foreman fan too. Like he was a guy that he won a gold medal at the 70 at the Olympics, and I think it was like what 1964 something like that. I think it was that Olympics. Um, George Foreman had a very educated power jab. He was made out of rock, and he could outbox you, but more than likely, opponents didn't stand up to his power and he knocked you out. So that's like George Foreman when he was young. George Foreman when he was old, he was a different fighter. He couldn't be exactly that guy, so he was a more educated fighter, a bit more of a counter puncher, a guy that was just a lot more cerebral, as most guys are when they age. He was one of the greatest heavyweights of all time in his prime. He knocked out Joe Frazier in, what was it, like 2 or 3 rounds? Just demolished him. I think right now, I mean, if you took that form and you put him in the 90s, I think he could hold his own in any era. I mean, if you match him with like Lennox Lewis, Lennox Lewis, educated fighter, one of the best jabs ever, knew how to set up the right hand and the overhand right. And that would have been a great one. You guys know I'm a big Riddick Bowe fan. I think Riddick Bowe on his best night could be any heavyweight, but his best night was only one night. He was too undisciplined. George Foreman's the man. I think George Foreman could beat any heavyweight ever, and not just young George Foreman. I think even the old one, because the old one was really good. The old one gave Prime Holyfield a good run for his money. Knocked out Michael Moore, who was a really good fighter. Who went on to who was the lineal heavyweight champion. Any version of George Foreman is worth it. Is worth something. At that level. I'm saying Bivol is overrated because I've overrated him myself. I was mistaken and wrong on his level, unless he was specifically affected mentally by his personal life. That's a very real thing. I think that's something that everybody who's predicting this fight, you should put some thought into. Okay, his ex-wife, she's crazy, she's deranged, and she's I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but she's really attractive though. I gotta give it to her. She's a special kind of crazy, but I need to go to Russia. And anyway, yeah, she's doing everything she can to demoralize this man. Like she's revealing injuries. She's talking gangs of shit about him in front of her kids. Like, yeah, because last night when I was with Sean, we were doing our film study. I watched the Malik Zanid fight. Whatever the hell that guy's name was. He fought Malik Zanid or whatever his name was. That guy is not that good. That guy's about 4 levels below Bivol. And I know Bivol was in the pocket a little bit more than usual because that guy's not good and he's like not gonna hurt him or nothing like that. But he was still getting hit too much for my liking, and I think he was a bit more upright. And I didn't see he did throw with volume, but not like until like maybe later on in the fight. I don't know. I don't want to put too much stock into it. Bivol never really looked impressive, like against like in a lot of his fights. Bivol does not look impressive. Like he didn't look impressive against Craig Richards. He didn't look impressive against Umar Salamov. Some people would even say he didn't look impressive against Canelo, because I've had that conversation with many boxing fans and people before. But there are some guys in boxing. There are fighters in boxing that, they don't need to look impressive. They just know how to win. and he knows what it takes to win. He knows how to win. So that's what he's one of them guys. Andre Ward, I couldn't stand Andre Ward, and Howard will tell you. Howard will tell you. Anybody who's watched me from back then will tell you how much I couldn't stand Andre Ward. He had a lot of fights in his career where he wasn't impressive. Where he fouled and did things that I didn't like. But you know what? Andre Ward had some nerdy moments in his career against Donald Boone, against Kovalev. Andre Ward, whether I like it or not, he knew how to win. There are certain guys in boxing that are not impressive that know how to win. Bivol is one of those guys. So that's my response to that. Let me see what else we got here. Shout out to everybody here, rock with me. BT, Bivol and Better BF should have happened years ago. It's because they don't have a ghetto fan base and don't speak English. What are you talking about? Are you saying that's why I'm not critical of them? I mean, that could be part of it. I mean, they don't speak a whole lot, so we're not getting Better BF and Bivol arguing about contracts and stuff like that over Twitter like Spence and Crawford were. We're not getting their fan bases criminally overrating them, So yeah, that probably is what it is. And Hyro says, you just hate Andre Ward and will never give him credit for both Kovalev fights. Absolutely not. Never. The second one, I'll give him his due. He looked better in that fight. He came in better shape. I still think there was some foul play at the end when he hit him in his nuts, but that's neither here nor there. The first fight, though, November 19, 2016, he lost that fight. He 1,000% lost that fight, and there's nothing anybody can tell me to ever. I watched that fight 20 times. And, yeah, Hyro, Chris Miller-Smith, that's another guy. Chris Miller-Smith. There's a lot of fights where he don't look overly impressive. He knows how to win. Some guys just know how to win. Better BF would destroy Jai Pataya. I think he would beat the piss out of Jai Pataya. I like Jai Pataya. He's very good in comparison to the current crop of cruiserweights. But he's got his fair share of flaws, and I think Better BF's too experienced for him. I'll be honest. If Better BF does beat Bivol like I think he's going to do, I would like to see him retire. The only fight I would like Better BF to take if he does beat Bivol is if Usyk actually follows through what he said, because Usyk stated not so long ago, like I'm going to say maybe like 2 months ago, Usyk had said that he actually does want to fight at cruiserweight again, and he has considered at some point in his career a move back down. So the only fight I would really care about for Better BF at cruiserweight would be the amateur rematch, because they fought in the amateurs. Better BF had dropped them in the amateurs. I would love to see them fight in the pros. And you know what? As crazy as it sounds, at cruiserweight, I think Better BF could beat Usyk too. I know that sounds crazy because Usyk is literally the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. But I mean, he was punching like that in the amateurs, and the amateur fights are a lot shorter. In the pros, you get more time to really take your time and manage your distance or manage your stamina throughout the rounds. And I think, as crazy as it sounds, at cruiserweight, I think Better BF could beat Usyk, and I would love to see it if Usyk is serious and does follow through. Andre Ward is the biggest low blow fighter since Andrew Gulata and Bobby Pacquiao. Oh my God, you came with the Bobby Pacquiao. I forgot that Manny Pacquiao had a brother named Bobby Pacquiao. Ain't that crazy? These Filipino legends like Nonito and Manny, they had these brothers that everyone just like forgets existed, like Bobby Pacquiao and Glenn Donaire. But yeah, Andre Ward. I mean, I don't want to make this lie about him, but he had a whole lot of foul play in his career. Alex says, I watched the Bivol versus Craig Richards fight. I thought it was an underrated performance. Maybe Bivol standards, it wasn't good, but Richards didn't compete as good as he did with Buatsi and Hutchinson. I never went back and watched that fight. That was a one and done for me. I didn't feel compelled to go back and watch that one because it was a very tactical fight. I just didn't want. To me, it was boring. From what I remember about that fight, I remember Craig Richards giving Bivol a good run for his money. That's the one fight that really gave Craig Richards like his stock on the world level, because I like Craig. Craig follows me on Instagram. I met him. He's a nice person. He's actually one of Better BF sparring partners for this camp right now, believe it or not. And Craig won a lot of fights on the domestic level of the UK he wasn't supposed to win. But when he fought Bivol and put up the fight he did, his stock shot through the roof. So he gets that respect as a good, solid fringe contender in boxing. But I don't agree with you on that one. I thought Richards did good against Bivol and made him look really pedestrian. And a lot of that was due to the range, the how lanky and rangy he was, and how good he was. BT, remember when you used to love Andre, man? What happened? I still love Andre. I love Andre's skills in the ring. Like from 54 to 60, I thought Andre was a really good fighter. 68, Andre was not that good, but I had no problem with Andre the fighter. Andre the fighter in the ring is still one of my favorite fighters. It's just it was hard to really like him after the Johnny Beck shit. That after the Johnny Beck shit, he became undefendable. That's when I couldn't do it no more. But who's worse, Ward or Andre? Ward, definitely Ward. At least Demetrius Andre wasn't punching these guys in the dick, so I'm gonna go with Ward for sure, 1000% Ward. All of Canelo's brothers were boxers. No one talks about them except when one of them fought one of Chavez's sons and the other one fought. Yeah, exactly. When Arizona Lara got his revenge by beating Ramon Alvarez. You never watched the Kovalev fights with me. How did you give Kovalev the 12th round in the first fight? You said Ward only won the middle rounds. Ward only won round 5, 7, 8, and 11. Those are the rounds I gave him. And even if I give him the 12th, he still lost the fight. So, because he got dropped. And he lost the amount of rounds. So, he would have lost by a couple points in my card if I gave him the 12th. You always get so bent out of shape, and you always get your panties in a bunch about the 12th. He lost. It doesn't matter if I give him the 12th or not, or don't give him the 12th. He lost. I don't think that better be a Bivol need ghetto fans because in a way, in rest have certain people in their country behind them that can sell. No comment on that. No comment on that one. Jose Chavez says Andre Ward is the most. It's funny to see this. This is why all I mentioned Andre Ward because then it becomes Andre Ward live. But Jose Chavez says Ward is the most bitter boxer of all time. Yeah, it seems like sometimes he doesn't like to give certain fighters their credit, but that's between him and God. I have no comment on that. I don't want to talk bad about people. I'm trying to practice not talking bad about people, because I'm getting older. You can't be angry all the time. You can't be upset. Shakur says, I think Beterbiev can beat Usyk too. I have Beterbiev against anyone, even Bivol. I don't think anyone, in my opinion, can beat him after this fight, even if he wins. If he wins, he's my number one pound for pound. I'll tell you this: if Beterbiev knocks out Dimitri Bivol and he is an undisputed champion with 100% knockout ratio, that's the perfect argument for pound. Like I know you're gonna say like, oh well, he didn't move weight class. Well, who gives a damn? He won every fight he ever had by stoppage, and he got a rebuilt. Like that's literally the perfect career. He's one performance away from literally having a perfect career. I don't think has there ever been in boxing. You guys tell me because I can't think of one. Has there ever been a fighter in boxing who became undisputed with 100% knockout ratio? I can't think of one. So I'm pretty sure that'd be a first. Ooh, okay. Landslide says, who are my top 5 Mexican fighters of all time? Like the best or my favorite? Because if it's my favorite or the best, those are 2 different lists. The best Mexican fighters of all time in no order would be Salvador's first, though. I'll put him first. You got Salvador, you got Ricardo Lopez, you got Eric Morales, you got Chavez, and then you got 5. You could put. Damn, who's 5? I mean, I guess you'd have to put Canelo like 5 just because he became the first Mexican undisputed. So we'll go 5. We'll go Canelo 5 just out of respect. My man QC says, BT was good, man. Long time, my dude. Hope everything's going well for you these days. And good to see you, man. It's always, I haven't seen you in the chat for a while, so it's good to see you. I hope you're doing good in Australia. And hopefully, I do every now and then think about going to Australia. So that's going to happen at some point in time. But yeah, everything's good, man. It's October 1st now. So we're 3 months and some change into the True School Las Vegas era. And it's been great. It's been fruitful. I've covered Canelo fights. I've covered Tank fights. I've, been part of a world title training camp. It's been beautiful. It's been probably, I can honestly say, one of the happiest times of my life in boxing. So better times ahead. things are good, and I hope things are good for you too. I put Salvador number 5 because he was only a champion in one division. Oh God, no comment, Harold. My favorite Mexican fighters of all time. Okay, my favorite Mexican fighters of all time would be in no order: Salvador Sanchez, Ricardo Lopez. Let me see who I'm trying to think who my other. It's funny. I don't know if he'd be my top 5, but I do like Zoto Ramirez a lot. But I don't know if he's my top 5. Let me see. Top 5. I can't put if you're saying Mexicans, like I can't put Mexican Americans because if I put Mexican Americans, I'm gonna put like Angelo Leo and Sinisa Estrada and like certain people in there. So I won't do that. We'll go Salvador, Ricardo, Miguel Canto from back in the day. I really liked watching his fights when I studied him that one time. He was really good. Who else? Who else is there? Eric Morales. I'm a big fan of him. I've watched a lot of him recently. And then I will go with Carlos Cuadras because I really enjoyed his career. And I think when I went to see him fight Romo Gonzalez in 2016 for the title, it was one of my best nights in boxing, just best fights I've been to. So, yeah, Carlos Cuadras. We'll see Carlos Cuadras in there. I'm a casual, but I'm excited for Bivol Better BF, and I support all the Mexicans in Chicago. Yeah, shout out to you, man. Shout out to all the Mexicans and all the Mexican American boxing fans. They really do help make boxing what it is. You gotta give them the respect. Look at the resume as well, bro. If he beats Usyk, which I think he will, if they all fight, also, what about Marquez number 5? Nah, Marquez number 5 all time though. Like for the best Mexican fighters, he'd have a great argument over Canelo, I think. But I'm gonna give Canelo the number 5 only because he was the first Mexican to go undisputed. Even though I like Marquez more, I'm gonna show some respect to Canelo. But yeah, I mean, Better BF has stopped fighters of all kinds of styles. That's what makes him so impressive is the fact that tall guys, stocky guys, athletic fighters, non-athletic fighters, pressure fighters, boxers, mid-range fighters, sluggers, swarmer, like every style you could imagine, Better BF has stopped them. So. If he does fight Usyk at cruiserweight, like which I highly doubt will happen, but if he didn't beat him, damn, you may have to start talking about him as the best light heavyweight of all time. Point blank, period. It'd be a discussion. It's a discussion if he just beats Bivol. BT, will Seiya Tsutsumi take away Junta versus Inoue? How do you feel? I think he is. I think Naoya Inoue is setting his brother up horribly to be overlooking Seiya Tsutsumi. I think Seiya Tsutsumi is the hardest opponent Takuma Inoue has fought in his career to date. I think Seiya Tsutsumi is going to bring a level of educated pressure that Takuma Inoue hasn't seen yet. And I'm putting him on a heavy upset alert. Not no mild upset alert, not no moderate upset. I'm talking about heavy upset alert. I'm going to pick Seiya Tsutsumi to beat Takuma Inoue because Takuma Inoue, and I know it was years ago when he fought Nordino Bali. Nordino Bali was putting that pressure on him, and he boxed well, but he didn't have enough to keep Nordino Bali off. Now he's physically mature. This is a better weight class for him, but Seiya Tsutsumi, you guys saw when he fought Kazuki Anaguchi. You saw the kind of pressure that he put on him, and to Anaguchi's credit, Anaguchi did not give up. He got up from like 3 or 4 knockdowns, finished the fight, boxed very well, and then died after the fight. So that's the kind of conditioning that Seiya Tsutsumi has and the pressure he puts on you. So, I hope Takuma Inoue is really ready for this fight because if he's not, he's getting packed up. And even if he is, he still might get packed up. The Naoya Inoue better stop talking about that Takuma versus Junto stuff because these Inoue fans, man, I like Inoue, but like some of his fan base, like they get mad because I point out the fact that he's trying to tell Takuma to fight Junto when Takuma has a fight already scheduled that he's may very well lose. It is kind of like he is kind of putting stipulations in there on Junto. Why? Because Junto is a threat, and I'll go on record and I'll say it again because I've said it many times, at least amongst friends and conversation. I think the only 2 guys that have any chance of beating Inoue from 122 to 126 are Junto Nakatani at 122 and Angelo Lee at 126. Everyone else, I think Inoue beats. There's some guys I think would give him a good fight. There's some guys that I think would compete with him, but I don't think they would have quite enough to get over the hump. You know, to me, it's either Junto or Angelo. Everyone else, I don't see it. Maybe like I still have hope for Otabek Komotov, but you know, Otabek is coming off a knee surgery. His knee was bad before the surgery, so I gotta wait and see with him. But I would go with Junto and Angelo as the guys. Like Takuma better come to fight. That's all I'm saying. Takuma better come to fight because I'll tell you one thing: Seiya Tsutsumi is gonna come to punch 80 holes through him. Inoue beats everyone. Period. No offense. Nah, he's gonna get beat up at featherweight. I hate to break it to you. I like Inoue and I wish him the best. And as long as he's not fighting Enzo Leo, you know, I want him to beat everybody else. But you know, I don't want to get into this because I'm gonna start World War III like I always do with this topic. But like he's already showing signs of not carrying that power up to 126. He's showing it now at 122. And you guys are gonna say, well, he's getting the stoppages, but it's not the same. I'm telling you, it's not the same. It's not the same. And there's a whole lot of other things that I haven't even said on video that I'm gonna hold close to the vest and keep to myself because you know, come when that time comes for Inoue to fight Angelo, that's when you know we'll talk after. I'll say it like that. Brandon Figueroa, I mean he's big, but my thing with Inoue, right, with him fighting these guys like Brandon Figueroa and Espinoza, I don't think fighters with that type of frame can beat Inoue. Because one of Inoue's biggest strengths that people don't like to talk about is actually his left hook to the body. It's one of his best punches. Inoue is quietly one of the best body punchers in the sport. Now, it's not like he's not going to stay there in the pocket and go to the body, but he'll dart in real quickly and then throw that left hook to the body. Fighters with these long torsos like Espinoza and Figueroa, yeah, they're going to throw a lot of punches and maybe they cannot work. I mean, maybe you'll be right in that regard, but I just think eventually they're going to get clipped and they're going to get Inoue will place the punches just right and it's not going to work out. It's like go look at when Inoue fought J.M. McDonald, guy with a very tall, lanky frame. I think some of those fights would go similar to that. Not Figueroa. I think Figueroa would be a more competitive fight, but Espinoza I think would be like J.M. McDonald 2.0. It would just go a couple more rounds. Nick Ball's a good fighter. I like Nick Ball. You know, I'm excited for his fight this weekend against Ronnie Rios. So let's see how he looks in that one. But he's a tough out for anybody in the division. But I think Inoue would beat him. Decision. Hard, like workmanlike decision. That's a good one. That's a good fight. Hagler versus GGG. I'll go with Marvin Hagler. I'll go Marvin Hagler. I like Marvin Hagler versatility and work rate more than GGG. I don't think GGG is just gonna outbox him or knock out Hagler. So I'll go Marvin Hagler by decision. But we'll never know because they're not gonna fight. It's a fantasy fight. But I like Hagler. I disagree with True School. I think Espinoza gives Inoue trouble. I don't think so. In fact, we shouldn't even be talking about Espinoza versus Inoue because he got a fight coming up. He may not even get to 2025 with his belt. So y'all might want to start giving some consideration. Can Robeisy Ramirez be Inoue because that might be that might be a fight. You know, I'm not saying that to hate Espinoza. I'm not saying that to down him. I'm just telling you that that's a legitimate fight. That's a fight that could happen. Ball can outbox Inoue until he gets caught. But Paul is durable. Everybody keeps saying like I don't like people say when these guys get caught at featherweight. These guys at featherweight are all bigger. This is not fighting. You know who he fought his last fight. T.J. Doheny. You know these guys are bigger. They're more skilled and not only are they bigger, but like aside from like Stephen Fulton, because I'll give Stephen Fulton to just do. I still think he was a fantastic fighter and he's still a fantastic fighter. Like all these guys that Inoue fought at 22, like Tapales, Doheny, these guys are front foot dominant fighters. They're power punchers. They're not power punchers with like a high level of like I guess you could say skill. They rely more upon their power and their strength. 126 is the deepest division in boxing. It is. It's 1,000% the deepest division in boxing. Even the guys you don't know in this weight class, like the guys that don't have big names like Mirko Quayle, Omar Trinidad, Jung Seong Kang, all these guys on any given day could fuck around and beat one of the champions. That's how that, because they're all that skillful. They all have their things about them. It's the deepest weight class in boxing. It's the most exciting weight class in boxing. It's the most culturally diverse weight class in boxing. To be honest, everybody should be talking about 126. I think Raymond Ford is going to look bad at 130 because he's not going to have a size advantage and be way bigger than his opponents. Probably. And probably get outworked. I think this fight that he's having against Orlando Capo Gonzalez is probably the right fight for him, because Capo Gonzalez is not a high volume guy and he's not like a big 30 pounder. So Raymond Ford could fight the Raymond Ford fight, but let's say like Raymond Ford versus an Otar Aronosian type fighter, a guy who just lets the hands go and won't be like super small compared to him. That would be a difficult fight. One that he'd probably lose. If Angelo Leo is fighting Inoue, what do you think he needs to be wary of? I mean, a lot of things, man. Inoue is a great fighter. There's a lot of things he needs to be wary of. I don't want to get too deep into it because I don't know who watches this channel. There's 27 people here, but one of these 27, could be someone in boxing. Sometimes I'd be finding out when I go to these fights that like really prominent people watch True School Sports and really listen to what I say. So I'm careful with what I say, but I mean, within a way, there's some things you got to negate. Obviously, if he's moving up in weight, you're gonna want to definitely impose that size advantage. So there's ways to go about it that I will keep to myself. But yeah. Do you think the Turkey takeover of boxing is inevitable? No, I don't think there's any such thing as a takeover. I think Turkey's gonna be here for a season. The longest I give Turkey is what we're in 2024. I've said he's not gonna be here till 2030 because there's bigger agendas at play here, like with like politics and agendas. Turkey and Riyadh season. I see it as a 3 to 4 year thing. So I'll enjoy the fights while they get made and enjoy this part of boxing. It's like nothing else. It's not like it's like anything else in boxing. Boxing goes through eras and periods. There was a time where whatchamacallit, Golden Boy fighters on the PBC, and then PBC was throwing out money like it was water, like it was candy. And that time came and went. And the boxing market always recorrects itself every couple of years. So I think the Saudis be no different. So all these fighters now get your money, enjoy it, take advantage of it, secure your future. But it won't be a long-term thing because Saudi has a bigger agenda that has nothing to do with boxing for 2030. And if you follow like politics on any level, you'll know what I'm talking about. But I'm not gonna get into it here because this is a boxing channel. Shout out to Al Powell at the super chat. Thank you, Al. He says, would you rather watch Mexicans or Mexican American fighters right now? Fighters from Mexico are Navarrete, Pitbull. I think the Mexican Americans are better right now. Well, the Mexican Americans have been beating the Mexicans recently, because Raul Valenzuela beat Pitbull, Angelo Leo beat Venado Lopez. David Benavidez is a prominent Mexican American fighter. You got Bam Rodriguez, who beat a Mexican fighter in Gaio. So I think right now Mexican Americans is where it's at. And just you ask me that question, I'm gonna be biased. You guys know Angelo, part of the team and whatnot. He's my friend, so I'm gonna pick the Mexican Americans, the Chicanos. Yeah. And Inquisitive says we need True School to film Angelo sparring and upload. That's not happening. That's not happening. You guys have to tune in. Tune in, and that's where you guys will see where it really counts. Where it really counts. Hopefully, I think the next fight probably January, February. I have an idea who I think the opponent's going to be, but I don't know because boxing is very unpredictable. So we'll see what happens. But it'll be a great time. But look, guys, shout out to everybody who watched. I pretty much I got the live in. I said what I needed to say. I just wanted to say what's up and get the month started off properly here on True School Sports. But listen, I don't know if I'll be live tomorrow, but if not live tomorrow, I'll be live on Wednesday. Or no, today's Tuesday, so Thursday I'll be live Thursday. But yeah, man, keep supporting the channel, guys. Channel's growing. I think it's been a very fruitful time here in Vegas thus far. There's plenty of content on the way. There's interviews on the way, good interviews too. So definitely go ahead and check out all the content. There's plenty of videos, plenty of interviews, plenty of shorts, and yeah, True School Sports is growing, and I just appreciate all the guys like Al Pal and Hyro and Hand History Vault and Raw Dog and just all the regular viewers that I know that I see here every live. You guys really do make this really special for me. So yeah, I'll see you guys on the next live. Hopefully some things happen in boxing between now and then. And yeah, like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.